What's up, everyone? This is Isaac with Hunger Smash Fitness, coming to you once again with my co-host John at My Block's Strongest Man. And today we have our guest. Today is Matthew Germanis from South Africa, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Before we get started too much with Matt, first, since World's Strongest Man is starting tomorrow, let's head on over. John has made a bunch of videos. So we'll talk about his videos a little bit.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. So, John, walk us through this a little bit.
Yeah, so the way I wanted to release this was group by group. So for anybody who's watched Big Law's Official, he did all the groups in one sitting. I put a lot more, and I don't mean this as a negative, I put a lot more prep work into my stuff than he does, and it's because he has instinct and experience, so he doesn't have to go look at everybody's Instagrams to know how well they're going to do. He's competed against most of these guys and can tell. But for me, I really have to put weeks of work into kind of coming up with where I think everybody's going to place. And it becomes difficult because you have different parameters that come into it. So you have the prep that you see, you have what they've done recently in, let's say, Siberian Power Show or Wasp Bahrain. And then you have, well, they did this in World's Strongest Man last year, as opposed to, well, that was last year. Can they still do that? So it's difficult to make predictions. And so I tried to do them group by group so I could give them their proper due. So I got a lot of flack, which I knew I would, because my first video said that Brian Shaw would not make it out of the qualifiers, and my second video said Tom Stoltman wouldn't make it out of the qualifiers. So definitely got all that, all of the attention and, opinions that I knew that I would there. And then I was very fortunate to kind of, I reached out to Big Law's from Big Law's Official, Lawrence Chalet, to try to do kind of a bit of a collab, like let's look at predictions together. And it became he looks at my predictions and kind of offered some advice on changes I might want to make. And that's the video that you see that did really, really well on the top row right. That one in the corner. So what happened there was we got together, we went through all the predictions. He gave me his kind of advice on how things went when he competed against certain guys. So, for example, I had Graham Hicks winning the pickaxe hold when Graham was still in World's Strongest Man, which there was breaking news very early today, I think very late for Graham last night in Sacramento, that he had to pull out. But, and we can get into that a little later. But, given that I thought with Graham's incredible shoulder strength and, potentially being a shorter guy with shorter arms, he'd be great at pickaxe. And Laz says, like, every front hold we ever competed in, I beat him at. And Graham can kill me at every overhead everything, so you can't go by that. And so it became kind of, very instructional. And Big Laz did me a real solid there that I will forever appreciate. He did an Instagram swipe up for me, sharing our time together on that video that we did, which actually was it was a whole session where I did a career interview of him and we did predictions. And then I split it up into kind of two offerings because I think it's really two different audiences. And they're the two that you see next to each other on that top row. So Uncle Law's Success Secrets is his career interview, and the one to the right is where we did the predictions. And so the prediction one, like I said, he did a swipe up for me because he has that following and that capability to do that on Instagram, which I don't yet. And it really super helped me out with views, with subscribers. He was able to put my content in front of people from his much larger audience that would have never seen it before. So super thankful to him. We've been in contact since then, and he's been nothing but helpful. He did a live stream, he and Liz, today, and I was in the comments there. He shouted me out again. Hey guys, predictions may be a little wonky, but this guy's super entertaining. You should go check out his channel. He's going out of his way to be extremely helpful when he doesn't have to be. And I wanted to take this time to just really thank you, Big Laz, and by proxy, Liz, for all the help and kind of getting the attention, the extra eyes that might like my content. And for anybody who was wondering, I did redo some of them, and that's where you're seeing here. So where I have, for example, the top left, last minute 2021 World's Strongest Man, groups one, it says, can't see it there, but it says groups 1 and 2 revisions. And basically I said Big Laz educates and I revise. And so I didn't change everything he said, because you got to kind of hold true to yourself if you believe in something. But I did change some of them based on his opinion, and that's what Matthew, our guest, was talking about earlier. I did end up, and I will release this one later, a whole finals video, but I have Brian Shaw winning his 5th now. So I had always said, for the record, that if Brian and Tom, for that matter, if they made it out of the qualifiers, the finals events are way better for them, and they would be near the top. And I did the math, and I have Brian winning it. It's funny, like there's a little twist and a little surprise, which I'll leave to the imagination for now. But near the top, there were some surprises. So a huge week for me. I mean, I saw those numbers really go up. Big Loz, Liz, cannot thank you enough. And I did send you a link to that updated workbook in your DMs if you want to check my work. Loz, maybe you stay away. Liz, the scientist, should really look at what I think. So we align a little better. But that's what I've been up to, Isaac.
Yeah, I loved all of Liz's little comments during yours and Law's conversation. Every now and then you'd hear her in the back correcting you guys. And I was like, it's good to have her on hand. We
actually had, like, neither of us knew. So I said, "Oh, is this this is Johnny's 2nd World's Strongest Man, right?" And Law said, "I think it's his 3rd." And he turns off camera and says, "Liz, is it his 3rd?" "Yes, it's his 3rd."
She's awesome. I love her. She's pretty great.
We got Tyler Haynes in the comments, right? World's Strongest Blacksmith. What's up, buddy? Famous supporter of our show, who's on almost weekly. Thanks, buddy, for coming by.
Yeah, definitely. He's working on getting his own show together as well. So once that gets closer, we'll start advertising for him with that as well.
Absolutely. What have you been up to this week, Isaac?
Well, I got all the finals with school done. I decided to try, because I hate benching, and so I decided to try benching 315 just for reps, and I was able to get 9-ish. The last one was pretty ugly, and I don't know if it counts. But what else have we done? Worked on my car. Didn't do a bunch with YouTube though. I've been super busy with other stuff. So hopefully now that I'm on break for a couple weeks, I'm gonna try and get some more videos together and we'll get some of that out. But
awesome.
Yeah, it was a busy week where I didn't get much done. It seemed like. So
that's funny.
Oh, well.
So Matthew, I'm really interested to learn about how you first got interested in strongman. How did you first get bitten by the bug? And say some impressive stuff, because our buddy Albert Brand is in the comments, and he's a monster. He did what was it, Isaac? A 465 stone at a contest recently?
Oh, wow.
Something like that. Albert's a beast. He's a big guy. Yeah,
and he's improving fast. It was at Savage Strength. He did, I think it was a 465 stone over bar. But Matthew, how did you first get interested in strongman? What is that interesting story for our audience?
Well, it's actually a pretty funny one. It was I thought to myself, I want to get into a sport because I've never really been in a sport, by my own will. It's always been like, I have to do something because I just have to, like my dad pushes me into it or my mom pushes me into it. And so I thought to myself, I want to do something that I want to do, and I'm going to do it the best that I can, and I'm going to be the best at it, right? So I started doing a bit of research in different sports, and I started with shot put, and that was sort of that's an interesting story for another day. But I went pretty well with that, and then I just suddenly lost interest, and I was like, I don't want to lose interest in something so quick. And then I stumbled across powerlifting, and I thought to myself, wow, this is absolutely crazy. This is big numbers here, and so eventually I thought to myself, let me go try a couple of the things at gym. At the time, I was just doing, a bit of cardio and a bit of boxing at gym. So I thought to myself, let me go try a bit of powerlifting movements. And so I did a deadlift, and the first time I ever deadlifted, I got a 150 double overhand. And I got.
Is that in kilos or in pounds?
I was going to say, you're saying kilos, right?
Oh, kilos, yeah. Kilos.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
That's pretty good for your first attempt.
Yeah, and at the time, thank you very much. And at the time, I was 14, so I was, I didn't know if that was good or bad, but in my eyes, I was like, that's really good.
That's awesome. The first time I ever did a deadlift, it was 270, and I was 44.
And that was in pounds, John. You did 270 in pounds,
270
right?
pounds. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I won't cut you off for too long, so my apologies. But it's also an interesting story. I was doing a story about what would a common man compare to Eddie Hall, and so I said, well, if he did 1,103 pounds, a person who's never tried before could surely do 400, no problem, right? No. So I learned my lesson there quite quickly.
Yeah, 405 pounds was a very big milestone for me. It was in about my first month of real training with my best friend and coach John Errington. I got a 170 deadlift and tried a 180, even with straps, and it was just terrible. I broke it off the ground for about 3 inches, and yeah, had to put it down. It felt like a crazy amount of weight. So, anyways, back to my story was we're trying a bit of the squat, bench, and deadlift, and anyways, my dad was a bit skeptical, with the don't hurt your back, that sort of thing. So, anyways, then I went on to bench that same day, and I got a 70-kilo bench, and went on to squat and got a 110-kilo squat. So after that, it seemed pretty obvious to me that the sport was made for me. I mean, at least in my eyes at the time, I was like, there's nothing else that fits me this well. So
this is when you're 14, right?
Yeah, 14.
Wow,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, anyways, the year progresses, and I get to my 15th birthday, and to be honest, I'm not really making that much progress in gym. And I thought to myself, you know what? If I'm gonna make real progress, I need to get a good diet and I need to get a good training plan. So my dad says to me, his best friend John Errington would be the perfect person to ask. So I went up to him and asked him, and he said, "Yeah, you can come train with us every day for 5 days a week." And yeah, from there we've just been training. It's been about 7 months that we've been training, and I made honestly just crazy progress with him. It was, excuse me, it was honestly just crazy. It was the best time of my life. I was doing well in school, and at the same time, I was breaking South African records.
Yeah, and because you said that you hold the South African record in deadlift and yoke with your
No, not in the yoke. Just in the deadlift. So I actually I went to a powerlifting meet. It was my first one, and yeah, it was. I was going for all the records because I knew what I was capable of. So the old record lies at I think it was a 202.5 kilo deadlift and a 160 squat and a 100 kilo bench. So I ended up doing a 215 kilo deadlift, a 180 kilo squat, and a 110 kilo bench.
you're muted, Isaac.
Oh, I said, wow, that's really impressive. And so, because are you doing powerlifting and strongman now, or are you switching to just strongman, or do you want to? What are your plans, I guess, in the near future?
Yeah, so basically, what my friend and coach John said was it would be better to start with the powerlifting movements and get the proper technique and form and all of that, and then you can go into strongman where you're going to be moving big weights, and it's very taxing on the body. So prepare your body, get a bit of muscle mass, all of that sort of stuff, and from there you can go to strongman.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I can understand that as long as you. I find that with a lot of power lifters, they lose the ability to move while loaded. So that's one thing that you'll want to keep in mind is just maintaining that ability to move under load, carrying stones and stuff like that as well. But
yeah,
no, I think that is probably the smarter path to go.
Yeah, Isaac, speaking of that, when you talk about moving under load, I see guys like, for example, Kevin Ferris, when he was prepping for World's Strongest Man, he would do farmers and then stop and do a hold for 10 seconds. That's not necessarily to become a better strongman, but to train grip specifically. Am I right?
Oh. Yeah, I think with him, I think that's more of his focus is to train grip, kind of keep that time under tension so that if you have to go longer, you have the ability, basically.
He has the ability. He's got a great grip.
Yeah, he does.
It's working.
Yeah, I know. That was one of the things that I talked to in my interview with Bobby Thompson as well. He mentioned where he was like, you see people who say, oh, like, I'm going to get a strong grip this year. And he was like, you don't get a strong grip this year. It takes years of working on your grip consistently to actually develop a strong grip. So yeah.
And apparently it also comes with age.
Yeah, well, that's true. And depending on what sort of lifestyle you're living, if you're doing a lot of rock climbing and stuff like that, you're probably going to get a decently strong grip anyways, it's just going to happen naturally. If you're working as a diesel mechanic or something like that, or a blacksmith, as our friend, the world's strongest blacksmith, you're probably going to get a really strong grip anyways, just because of the work that you're doing, the life that you're living. But
my dad's actually a diesel mechanic, and his grip it's honestly phenomenal.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
That's
I mean, when you're working it every day, you're going to develop that sort of strength.
Yeah,
definitely.
It sort of runs in the family because when my aunt, my grandmother's brother, Uncle Khalil, we used to call him, he used to rip a full-on phone book right in front of you, just with his bare hands, rip it like this. It's honestly just crazy. So I actually think that the strength, runs in the family.
Yeah, there you go.
It sure sounds like it. Speaking of running, Matthew, I hear a rumor that you're very good with yoke. Is this true?
Yeah, I think I am.
Tell us more. How did you first come upon the yoke? What are the different techniques that you use? I like to ask a lot of strongmen and strong women questions about yoke technique because I think to the layman, they don't get how much goes into it. So how did you first become interested in yoke, and why are you so good at it?
To be honest, I think I'm so good at it because of my leg strength. My legs are definitely my strongest point. So I think definitely because of my legs and partially maybe back to keep myself upright, And I think as for technique, it's definitely again, I'm not a professional, but what I've been taught at Area 51, which is where I do all my strongman training, is you really need to keep your back tight, So that's why you can see me in the video there. I'm grabbing onto the sides, and what you want to sort of do is like pull onto the sides, sort of pull those bars in, and that'll engage your back a lot more, and it'll keep you tight. So also another thing, if you see me coming across here, the sort of bar of the yoke is pretty low on my back, and that just it also gives you quite an edge because it's not right on your neck, or it's also not pushing you forward, and sort of getting your sense of balance off.
Yeah, I have to offer you kudos for being that skilled and understanding the technique that well at this age, because you're saying, frankly, a lot of the same things that Big Laz said to me when I asked him about yoke. So, and I'm seeing like a lot of things that he explained. So he talked about retracting the shoulder blades because you then create a much larger surface area for the crossbar to sit on, not wrapping your hands all the way around. A lot of the things that you're describing are things that are advanced things that strongmen go years to learn. So kudos there. For sure.
Thank you very much. It's I think it is definitely where I train, which is Area 51. I train with George and Kellen and also another gentleman. His name's Terrence, and they're the best to learn from. Kellen is Africa's strongest man, 2-time Africa's strongest man. George holds some records in the log press, and Terrence also, he has years of experience in powerlifting and strongman. So they really just they've taught me from their ways, and it's honestly just their knowledge.
Yeah, that must be an interesting story. How did you come across those relationships? Like, I want to work out with Travis Ortmeyer. I haven't been able to make that happen. So how do you how have you formed these relationships with such accomplished strongmen in Africa?
It was actually back when I thought that you can go straight from school into being a full-time professional strongman. So what actually happened was one day I was talking to my tutor, and she was like asking me what I want to be when I'm older, and I said to her, I'm not really sure, but I want to be a strongman. And for school I had to do job shadowing. So I said to her, if you got any connections, and it actually came out that she knew some of the best strongmen in South Africa, which was is Jared Leask, who is an absolute beast. And then from there, she actually gave me Kellen Mills. She gave me his number, and basically I started chatting to him. Very formal. It was Mr. Mills. So I started chatting to him, and eventually he said, "Yeah, come train with us on a Saturday." He gave me the address, and from there, actually I was a bit nervous because I wanted to try the events as well, just to get a feel for it, because back then I'd never done it. So I was like texting him, and I was asking very subtly, do you mind if I try this and try that? And they great guys, really, really. They are some of the best strongmen that I know out there. They were so helpful and just super kind, let me try all the stuff, and I spent the whole day there. It was absolutely crazy. But yeah, so that's actually how it came along, was from job shadowing.
Yeah, it's amazing. We talk about this very often, how the sport of strongman is just so much more welcoming than many other sports. And it seems to be international. We've spoken to African athletes, European athletes, North American athletes, and it's the same every time. Almost exclusively, people are very kind and welcoming compared to almost any other sport.
Yep, definitely. Not arrogant at all. I mean, to be honest, like when I didn't, the first time I met Kellen, I thought, he's 2-time Africa's strongest man. There's no way he's not going to have a bit of a chip on his shoulder. And he is the most down to earth person you will meet. He's super, super nice.
Yeah, I really wish one of these days we can make maybe the time zone difference work and have him on as well. That would be very interesting.
Yeah.
Or if he ends up in the States at any time, tell him to let us know, and we'll try and get him on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you first were trying out implements, what was the first one you tried? And then conversely, which was the first one you became enamored with? Like, wow, I really love this.
Well, first we did farmer's walk, and with farmer's walk, I mean, you can see my hands. Let me try and get it in. You know, my hands are pretty large. So I think naturally with farmer's walk, I was just, excuse me. I think naturally with farmer's walk, I was just okay at it. I mean, for my age, my grip isn't that great, but you know, my large hands did give me an advantage. So then we went on to yoke, and yeah, I knew yoke was the one for me. It was like love at first sight.
That's awesome. Yeah, it seems like speaking more about yoke. So we talked about some of the techniques. Do you like a high clearance off the ground or a small clearance off the ground?
To be honest, I haven't really experimented with that. Usually it's just I go with what the guys there have and just, you know, try it out.
So you don't notice much of a difference if it's higher or lower or anything like that, or?
No, not really. Hey, I must be honest. I think that they both have their advantages and disadvantages, because the higher clearance, I feel like if you go in pretty quick and the yoke tends to tilt a bit, it's not going to catch on the ground, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
definitely. I would agree with that.
That's just my opinion, you know?
Not just your opinion, it's Laz's opinion too.
Yeah, there's a lot of other people that agree. I want to mention too, because Albert Brand replied, and he said it was a 465 keg over a 52-inch bar.
And he said he was watching while he's training, right? Or else we'd try to make him come on.
Yeah, he said he was listening while he was training. Otherwise, I'd love to bring him on, but I'm not sure if he's free right now.
Yeah, he'd be a cool guy for you to meet, Matthew.
Yeah. John's actually done a couple interviews with Albert too, so you need to go and watch those videos on his channel as well.
I don't know if I ever told you, Isaac. Did you see that that promo I did with him and Josh Hillen before Savage Strength, where it was kind of the head-to-head, like with the dramatic music in the background? That was their idea. I don't know if I ever divulged that.
Oh, really? No, I didn't know that.
I watched it. It was entertaining. They reached out. I think it was Albert actually reached out to me and said, you should do like this montage crazy thing, how we're having this rematch. And Josh was like, yeah, do it. So that's why I put it together. It was their idea.
I love their feud that they have going on.
Yeah, they're
have you so Matt, have you done any strongman competitions yet, or just training it, or where are you at with that?
So I think for my age, it's a bit it's a bit difficult for the competitions.
Yeah,
because I mean, obviously you're going to be competing with 20, 30, 40-year-olds, you know. So I think for me right now, the best option would be to train and get to my best point that I can get to, and then enter a competition from there. Because I don't enter the competition for fun, you know. I usually go to win
it. Yeah, I can understand that. Well, and especially your first one or two. I mean, I would say you should strive to win, but maybe don't plan on winning, just because, especially the first one or two times, you're kind of getting a feel for how they're actually run, how everything progresses. But if you've been doing some powerlifting meets and stuff, you'll have a little bit of a sense of that. But it is different with strongman, definitely. But
how prevalent are competitions in that area? Because in the U.S., they're happening. There are a lot of competitions in the U.S. again now, and I know that with some of the British athletes I talked to, it's coming now, but it's been a while where they really didn't have anywhere to compete. So the U.S. has been kind of fortunate in that regard. So I'm just wondering, in South Africa, are there, like, when you decide to compete, do you have your choice of competitions, or are they more sparse?
Yeah, so there are quite a few. I went to go and watch one a couple of weeks back, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of them here in South Africa, but they are really just two big ones, and that would obviously be Arnold in South Africa, the Arnold Classic, and Africa's Strongest Man.
Have you ever gone to either of those just to watch?
No, unfortunately not.
No.
It's a bit beyond my reach. It's the tickets are super expensive here.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah. So, have you been watching any of the lead up to World's Strongest Man at all? Do you dare I say, is Chris van der Linde your favorite?
I do definitely favor him. Yeah, I think he's an absolute powerhouse. So put it this way: if there's any stand-in static events like where you're not moving, I do believe that he will absolutely demolish everyone there. That's in my opinion. It's beyond my it's beyond me. His strength is it's absolutely crazy. So yeah, I do favor him, but I also like Tom Stoltman and Brian Shaw.
Okay.
So I think mainly because of like Eddie Hall said, they are just the most genetically gifted strongmen. 6'8" and 400 pounds in body weight. That is, absolutely crazy.
Hey, Brian has been slimming down.
Yeah. Brian Shaw, he did lose quite a bit of weight.
Yeah, he did. I think some of it came back though, because he was looking really fit and trim for a while, and then as soon as all the events got announced, it looked like he gained some of the weight back. So I'm not sure.
Looks like Robert Oberst lost a little bit. Maybe Brian found it.
I know. Yeah. Even with because I got to meet Obi just a little bit ago, and he's still, even with losing weight, he's still a big dude. He's still pretty massive.
I don't know if that's the approach for him. Like, I think being big is his thing. Like, I don't think Oberst should try to slim down.
Yeah.
No, I think he does better when he's bigger too. I'm not sure what he's playing, so I don't know. I don't know inside his mind.
Who's your pick to win, Matthew? You said you saw my picks. Who's your pick? Well, let's say for the podium for all three.
To be honest, I'm backing Brian Shaw all the way.
Okay.
He's in my opinion, he's the most well-rounded athlete.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are rooting for Alexei Novikov, but I don't know. His training just it didn't look the same this year, in my opinion. And so I think he sort of slacked down a bit, and Brian Shaw has absolutely powered through his training, and he's made so much progress. And so I really think Brian Shaw will win his fifth.
Isaac, even though I haven't released them yet, do you want to see mine?
I'd love to. Do you want to share them on the stream, or do you want to talk about them after?
I'll share them.
Okay, here.
They're starting tomorrow anyway, so I have to get this stuff out as fast as I can.
That's true. Yeah, I need to find a good link to monitor everything too.
So that's my finals there. I even have the little icons.
Oh, you have Brian and Alexi sharing first place?
No, but then Brian gets it on countback because it would go to the last event, which is Atlas Stones, and Brian would do better on Atlas Stones. So I had, where I said I had the interesting surprise earlier, I have a tie for first and a tie for third. So Brian would win the countback, take first place, putting Alexi in second, and then Tom Stoltman would win the countback with JF, taking third place.
That's a. I don't know if I've seen a tie for first and a tie for third in the finals before.
Hey, listen, before I had JF winning by like 12 points or whatever, and people gave me crap about that, so I can't win.
I know. I know this year's tough because like JF's been on a roll lately. Brian's definitely coming back with a fire going. Alexi's well-rounded. Kind of like Matt said, I haven't seen that same fire, and I don't know if these events favor him as much as last year's events. But
he finds a way to be good at everything, though.
What's that?
He finds a way to be good at everything. I looked at his prep, and, the weights in his prep weren't as impressive as some of the other guys, let's just say that. But he also likely wasn't peaked yet, and he also likely wasn't showing his best lifts. Like, if you look at what he did last year in the components of medleys that match this year, like, some of them do, he's not going to win the max height keg toss, but he's not going to be bottom of the barrel either. So as long as he does well enough in the other areas, I only have him winning one event, but he's doing well enough in all the other areas that I think, he's right up there. Yeah.
I really hope Travis makes it to the finals. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, but I don't have him making the finals, but I so want him to.
I know. And like, just because we've had him on a couple times and everything, and like, dude's a rock star. Like, he's the nicest guy ever and super accommodating, and but we'll see. I'm not sure if he's going to make it or not. I was bummed. Did you hear why Graham ended up having to pull out? Or I didn't hear.
I did. Reasoning. A lot of people in my comments in various areas have asked, and I've answered it a million times. But I'll answer for you too, since you're my esteemed co-host. He had a groin injury 3 weeks ago in prep that he thought he'd be all right with, and then he started practicing in the boneyard with the squats, and he said, I don't want to be vulgar, he said an area hurt him so much that basically he couldn't stand it, so he had to pull out.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's a bummer. Because he's out. Is he the only one that's out so far?
Rob Kearney pulled out too as an alternate.
Oh,
so
right. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I heard a rumor. I haven't seen this confirmed, but I heard a rumor that Adam Bishop's on the fence because he might have some nagging injury too, but I didn't hear that confirmed.
Huh. I haven't heard anything about him yet. I was excited to see that Irvin Toots was in, though. I really want to see Gabe in as well, because I feel like after last year, I really want to see him go all the way through to the finals and everything, because I think he could make the finals.
After last year, I wanted to see both Gabe Pena and Evan Singleton come back and give their best, because they both got shortchanged, so to speak, last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because when they first announced the athletes, my initial reaction was, where's Irvin Toots? But now, like, time has passed, and I keep hearing Gabe Pena's the first alternate, and I got used to that idea. And now that he's not, I'm a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. We'll have to get Colin Bryce on here sometime and be like, hey, dude, what are you doing?
We should. We should. Think he's going to pull that nonsense this year again, saying they're not using the anvils and then use them anyway?
But that's kind of how strongman is, though, right? Like you plan on all this stuff, and then the day before they change it. So you just roll with it and hope for the best.
Well, I was on Shaw Strength earlier. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he said there is an anvil. He was prepping in the boneyard, and there is an anvil for sure.
Yeah,
I think on what you said about Alexei Novikov's training, I think he's definitely got a strategy to what he's doing. So, in my opinion, he because I don't know if you follow his channel very closely, but he started his prep a week late. So I think everyone's sort of like, oh, Alexei Novikov, he started his prep a week late, and that's going to be a disadvantage for him. And he's not, like you said, I mean, he's not pushing the most impressive weights. So I think what he's trying to do is make everyone think like his prep is down, and he's not gonna do so great, and he's gonna come out and do like pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, in that vein, the best dumbbell I saw Brian Shaw do was 64 kilos. Do we really believe that's his best dumbbell? No, like that's half of, not even half of his best. Like we all know that certain people are the best at certain things because they've proven it over and over. We know that Tom Stoltman's the best stone lifter, and Brian's probably second, and Trey's probably third, and this year Max is probably fourth. These are things we know. We know that Alexei right now, in the absence of Mateusz Kieliszkowski, is the best circus dumbbell presser in the world, and Brian is the second. Like, it doesn't matter if Alexei presses a 50-pound dumbbell in prep. We know that he would win an event like that. It just is what it is.
Yep.
Well, and also I wonder because he does have a smaller frame, so like someone like Brian could do a ton of heavy lifting all the time, and he's got the frame to be able to absorb it, to be able to handle that. Whereas someone like, Adam Bishop or Alexei Novikov or something like that, they don't necessarily have the mass to be able to handle that much heavy lifting. So I wonder if he's also just playing that game where he's playing off that card as well, where he's like, yeah, look, I'm just doing some light stuff, whatever. And not talking about it, or I don't know what he's doing, but
it could also be. Sorry.
Oh,
no,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think it could also be with the events last year. It was a lot of endurance and a lot of. It wasn't like who can lift the heaviest weights, except for the 18-inch partial deadlift. It was like a lot of endurance. Like events, and I think his slim frame and like how light and nimble he is helped him a lot there, and he took from that and said, let's try and add a bit of strength and still keep the mobility, and I think that's what he's come up with this year.
That's what I think I'm seeing as well. He's making sure the speed is still there because that's his edge. He's very strong, but his edge is the mobility.
And if you see him in the yoke against Brian Shaw, wow. In the finals last year, he absolutely, I mean, his feet were just like Lightning McQueen, it was speed. And I think that definitely helped him a lot because he hit the curb, and he had that bit of space between Brian Shaw, and he was able to correct it and come through and still win, which is absolutely crazy. Because
that's the thing. If we're talking about who can lift and walk with the heaviest possible yoke, Brian Shaw is difficult to beat. But that's not what World's Strongest Man is. They come, at least this year also, they come down a little bit on the weight. It's heavy for the rest of us, but for them it's slightly lighter, and see who can get through it the quickest. It's not about who can lift the absolute heaviest weight. And so that's why it becomes more competitive in certain areas. And speaking of that, which of these events are you kind of the most excited to see? And conversely, which one do you think is the hardest to judge or the hardest to pick? We'll stick just to the finals for now.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think fingers, to be honest, because that's for me. That's been the most interesting to watch in training, and I think that's definitely going to be the hardest because you know who's going to be better at it? Shorter athletes with longer arms, taller athletes with shorter arms. You know, where's the happy medium going to be? You know, so I think that'll definitely be interesting to watch, and you know, it's also cool to see that they've brought back some of the old events from like much older strongmen. You know, like the events from a long time ago.
Yeah, here, let me go into the qualifier so we can look at the fingers. There you go. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's I didn't have a hard time at all saying Brian would win his group in fingers, but beyond that, it is difficult.
Well, and Brian's one of the only ones that has a lot of experience with the fingers, and we also know is a pretty good finger flipper. I don't know what you call that.
I think it's also definitely squat and train pull. I think the squat, except for I think 2019 they did squat, and also in the 2021 in the qualifiers. I think with that thick bar especially, it is absolutely crazy what they can do, and I definitely think that is one of the more interesting things to watch. And of course deadlift for me, but the train pull is also, that's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, I was actually, when I had Big Laws on, we were talking about the squat, and he said, well, last time Brian did the squat at World's Strongest Man, he ran out of time. He didn't run out of strength. And I get that, but that matters. If you run out of time, you can't count anymore. It doesn't matter if you have more strength.
I think that's the one thing that hurts Brian so much is he's slow, like so methodical about everything, where like it makes it so he's really consistent and he's freakishly strong, but sometimes he just needs to speed up a little bit.
I think he's worked on that this year, though. I think you'll see a difference from last year in that respect.
Yeah.
I think especially if we go back to the 2020 qualifiers, Brian was dropping the farmer's walk, the implements. He was dropping them and going about it pretty slow to correct them, make them straight, you know, stand up with it. Like what Isaac said, it's very methodical and but also very slow at the same time, and that could very well hurt him.
Yeah, I mean, in situations like that, a second or two between competitors can mean a few places, you know?
Yeah. Especially with keg toss.
I'm pretty sure he's going to win the keg toss just because he's held the world record before, and watching his training, like, I was like, yeah, I think he's going to clear it, no problem. I don't know if he'll set a new world record, but I'm pretty sure he's going to win it.
Can I say something about that? Watching the training, yes, he's going to win. Yes, nobody's going to beat him. Evan Singleton wasn't that far below him. And yeah, like I said, guaranteed win for Brian. Evan's second or third there. Like, he's looking incredible with that keg toss.
What about Tom Stoltman?
I think I have Tom second and Evan third. I have to relook.
Yeah. I was going to say, Tom's another one who's really good at it. I don't know if they're going to beat Brian, because I think that's one of the things where I think the keg toss fits Brian perfectly because he can go at his own speed. He doesn't have to race through it and beat a clock or anything like that. He can take however much time, well, within reason, but however much time he needs to set up and make sure that he does it properly. And I think the keg toss he's gonna dominate.
Yeah, I have Tom second and Evan third.
Did Tom Stoltman not win the keg toss last year?
For speed, though, so he beat Brian when speed is involved. I think Brian is higher on a max.
Okay, so on this year, it's not speed. It's the most weight you can do.
No, it's a given weight for as high as you can make it go.
Oh wow. Okay.
Mhm.
That's going to be interesting.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Tom wins on speed, and he's very good for height too because of his height and his arm length. So Tom would do very well in either of those scenarios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think definitely with Tom Stoltman's like with his performance, it's definitely he makes very small mistakes that impact him quite a bit. For example, when he was doing the farmer's walk, he would one hand would place very far. How would you say it? Like very towards the end of the front, and one hand would go towards the back. And so
I
they would
remember
be
that.
swaying like this.
Yes.
You know?
Yes,
So
I
I think
remember.
that, I mean, that's a small mistake, and it can really influence you so much and hinder your performance.
Yeah, I mean, we could argue that this year that'll be minimized given it's a frame instead of farmers. So there's that. But didn't he have a small mistake also on that the yoke anvil medley? Didn't he bobble the anvil or something like that?
Yeah. He dropped the anvil.
Yeah, like he picked it up so fast that it flew out of his hands or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was actually running with it and just dropped it out of nowhere. I think maybe he could have lost his foot placement, something like that, and just tripped a bit forward and dropped it.
Yeah, speaking of anvils, our buddy World's Strongest Blacksmith has a comment about my predictions.
Yep. So I don't know if he's arguing with Brian winning overall, but he had a couple of adjustments with how he wanted you to do the Giants medley and the log.
Tyler, I struggled with the Giants medley, so I'll take all the tips I can get there. Not only with Brian, with a few guys on kind of mixing and matching them. So yeah, I'll definitely take your advice there. And I didn't have him far down enough on the log. I did. Big Laws made me raise him. Hey, internet, that's what happened.
Well, and like you said before, I think someone like Big Laws, I would probably take his opinion over however much research I would do, because I've never actually competed against Brian. So I don't know what he's like, day of the competition, how he goes into it. I can see what the video shows me, but that's very different,
I'll say this. I mean, I've only seen one video from him so far, and I'm sure he'll do more as the days progress. But so far, he looks way less stressed this time than last year. Like, last year, he seemed preoccupied. And as he described it at the end of the competition, it was with making sure everyone else was being treated fairly. So maybe that was it. I don't know. Maybe it was the the climate conditions that were disruptive. I don't know what it was, but he seemed, I don't want to say distracted, but not maybe as focused as he would have liked last year. He seems really calm and collected this time around. So I think it's almost a guarantee. I don't know if he's going to win, but he's going to do better than he did last year.
Yeah. Well, and I think, there were a ton of different factors going into last year, because they had like the hurricane and everything else going by and everything. And I think Brian, he's one of the older athletes now. So he's not necessarily like the grandpa of everybody per se, but like I think he views them all as like, he's kind of their spokesperson in a lot of ways because he's been there so many times. So yeah, I think he was pretty stressed out last year, and I haven't seen that at all this year. He looks very calm, cool, and collected.
Yep.
But
Definitely.
Yeah. So Matthew, who do you think is going to make the finals without taking? Oops, did I cut out there for a moment?
No, you're good.
Okay, I was going to say without taking what John's put up, who do you think / hope is going to make the finals?
Well, I don't know the groups off by heart, but I think it's definitely going to be someone like Gary Pritchett and Chris van der Linde. I know they're in the same group. They definitely, I think they have the best chance to make it out of that group. I'm obviously I like the Tom Stoltman and Luke Stoltman. I like Stoltman. I like the brothers. You know, they are extremely strong, especially
Yeah.
looking at Luke Stoltman's log press. I mean, in his training this year, it's been absolutely crazy. You know, so I'm definitely hoping for the Stoltman brothers to come through, and obviously also Brian Shaw. I do have a new athlete that I favor quite a bit. Bobby Thompson, who
Yeah.
he is
We
absolutely
we
crazy.
we all favor him.
I think, you know, I didn't give him as much attention like when I first got into the sport. But yeah, he is super strong. He is actually crazy. So I hope he also makes it through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bobby's a really cool guy too. Isaac's interviewed him, and Bobby's like he hangs out with us regular guys in the Facebook groups and is active there. He's like really friendly and extremely impressive. He set the American log press record at a contest called Clash on the Coast. I don't know if you're familiar this
Yep.
year. So yeah, Bobby's if he makes it to the finals, you got a log press for Max and a deadlift there. I mean, how can that go wrong for him?
He's a force to be reckoned with, and it's funny because even when he first started, like he was pretty decent his first year, but these last 2 or 3 years, he's really developed nicely. He's becoming a phenomenal strongman athlete. We also have a comment here from our friend. Again, Brian's the ambassador between the athletes and the promoters at almost every comp lately. And I definitely agree with that. That's something that I've definitely noticed over the last couple of years. Brian's kind of stepping more into that role where he's not just an athlete, but he's also kind of the go-between a lot of the athletes and everything.
Definitely. And I think on Brian Shaw, you know, I think when he won the Shaw Classic, it like reignited a flame inside of him, you know, because that's, I mean, they were moving damn heavy weights, and JF Caron made a new world record on the hammer tire deadlift, you know. So I think when he won that, he saw and proved to himself, you know, I can still win. You know, I'm not too old, and I'm definitely not. I'm not going to make the same mistakes as I made last year. You know, as he says, he analyzes and studies his training and improves from there. So I think, you know, he like what Eddie Hall said on his documentary on Netflix. You know, he said Cedrunas Saviscus is like an old boat. He just keeps moving, and I think the same can be said for Brian Shaw now.
I love that quote. Yeah,
That's funny.
Yep, I would agree with that. I think Brian, like in my opinion, Big Z is the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time as far as strongman is concerned. But Brian's not that far behind. And if he could have another 2 or 3 good years in him. And if he keeps competing and doing well, he I don't know, he might pass Zadrunas, but
Who's your? Let's take a vote, Isaac. Who's your top 3 right now of all time?
of all time, Big Z is definitely greatest of all time. Second, third, and fourth, like, because in my opinion, it's kind of a toss-up between Kaz, Magnus, and Brian for kind of the second, third, and fourth position. There's others that are close in there, but I think each of them, for their time, really set themselves apart, basically.
Matthew,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Number one is definitely going to be Brian Shaw. I mean, I think the guy is honestly, in my opinion, he's unmatched by anyone, really. I think number 2 is going to be Eddie Hall. Definitely because of his, I mean, infamous half-a-ton deadlift, but also because, I mean, I don't think a lot of people appreciate him for his other lifts. I mean, I think a lot of people say Eddie Hall 500 kilo deadlift, you know. But if you see like the log press, he was absolutely a beast in so many other areas, and I think that's what gave him his a bit of edge there, you know, and also his heart, you know. Like he said in the documentary, he's 6'3", which is definitely not short, but for a strongman, it's a bit on the shorter side, and so he has to work a little bit harder than the 6'9" Hofthor and 6'8" Brian Shaw, and so I think like Colin Bryce said, he knew he could win it in his heart, and that's what gave him his edge, is his mindset, and he would stop at nothing. You know, really, he was an unstoppable athlete. So that's my number 2, and then for number 3, I'm probably gonna say Magnus for Magnussen, and number 4 Hofthor.
Very good. We got Joshua Hillen in the comments saying Big Z, Brian, and then Pujanowski.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know.
And then Tyler's got Tyler has Kaz 1, which I don't think I've ever heard, but I wouldn't dispute that. I mean, you got so equilibrating for giving Kaz today's training methods and nutrition and all that. I don't see. You gotta think about how many you would have won without the being not invited back. So, you know, Kaz can have 6 if he weren't being invited back.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Kaz is like he was also setting other records in other sports because he set like the bench world record or something like that in powerlifting for a while. Like
he was the first 300 kilos.
Yeah, and so he was also setting other records at the time, and he kind of got the short end of the stick with Strongman. So yeah, you're right. Like it is one of those things where it's like, how good could he have been? Yeah, and that's definitely why I have him up there. But since he was never really given the opportunity to prove it, I don't know if I'd put him at number 1.
I think the athletes back in the day, like 90s and sort of 80s, maybe you can say, like why I personally didn't put Mariusz Pudzianowski in my top 4 is because I think that the weights back then are extremely different to what they push in now, you know. So this is just in my opinion again. I think that, you know, modern day Brian Shaw versus 80s, 90s, 2000s Mariusz Pudzianowski, you know, there's, to me, the 4 titles that Brian won are a lot more valuable compared to the 5 that Mariusz Pudzianowski won.
I would absolutely agree with that. And didn't they actually go head-to-head on the vote poll where Pudzianowski put up what seemed like an unbeatable time, and everybody thought, oh, he's got this, and then Brian beat the time?
Yeah,
Brian beat him by like several seconds.
Yeah, he beat him badly.
Oh, and here we go. Yeah, you can't forget Paul Anderson. Technically, I mean, because he was around before World's Strongest Man was really, moving.
Yeah, he had what was that title he had at the 1978 World's Strongest Man? Like the Commissioner of Strength or something?
Something like that, yeah. Because his prime was, but yeah, if we could have had World's Strongest Man going when Paul Anderson was in his prime, yeah, Paul definitely would have been taking home a couple records. Dude's a beast.
So I have a pretty strong. Looks like Matthew got bumped out. Oh, you're back. There you are. Yeah, I have a pretty strong opinion on this. So Big Z is number 1, always will be. No one's ever going to pass him. Brian Shaw is number 2. Probably always will be. Nothing he can do to get him to number 1, but I can't see anything anyone else can do to get them above him at number 2. And I would put Kaz at number 3. For maybe Marius. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. I would not put Half Thor over Marius. I would not put him in the top 5, but in the top 10 because he's never won, but because of longevity, JF Caron would be in the top 10, maybe number 10 or so.
I think JF Caron's definitely he's one of the best athletes out there for sure.
Yeah, have you checked out our interviews with him?
I did. Where you're interviewing him and he was eating his meal.
That was the second one. That was the second one.
Yeah, to me, he's like the Terminator, you know.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't talk about what he's gonna do. He just does it, and like it's honestly crazy what he does. To be honest, to say the least, you know.
Well, and I love his Instagram channel because all the videos that he puts up are random like security cam footage of him lifting. It's never like someone actually taking a video of him. It's just like, oh, this was kind of caught on like the entryway camera and you can see him in the corner of it.
No, for sure.
He has such a, it's funny, like he's a dichotomy. He's like a friendly, jovial guy, but then he's no nonsense when it comes to lifting. So we were talking about the events at World's Strongest Man, and I said, do you know what the height on the deadlift is going to be? Will it be a traditional 9-inch or a 13 or 15 or 18? And he said, doesn't matter. Strongest deadlifter will win. Okay.
Well, I mean, he's got a point. You know, the person with the strongest back will always have the advantage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and he's a wealth of knowledge too. Like he's one of those guys who you can ask questions and he knows a ton about every single event, about former strongmen, former records. Like he's a wealth of knowledge. So
yeah.
Fun fact: this is his 11th World's Strongest Man, and Big Laws also went to 11 World's Strongest Man contests.
Wow.
See,
actually,
JF needs to start a YouTube channel where he can talk about strongman as well. Like,
so I don't know if this is a secret, but he is planning on doing that very soon. He actually talked about it, I think, on first or maybe the second interview that I did with him. He's working with Devin Larratt. So, you guys familiar with Devin Larratt, the incredible arm wrestling champion?
Yep.
Did you? Yeah. Okay, so on a side note here, did you watch the competition between Devin Larratt and
Monster Michael Todd?
Michael Todd. There we go. I knew it was Mike something. Did you watch
that? The guy that looks like you.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, well, his beard's better than mine. Mine's only 4 or 5 weeks old, so it's getting there. But oh my goodness, Devin just like annihilated him. I was like, so Michael Todd's supposed to be pretty good, and Devin Larratt made him look like an amateur.
So for people that are paying attention to arm wrestling, let me just put this in perspective. Michael Todd arguably is in the top 10 of all time for arm wrestlers. And Devin Larratt was very ill only months ago. I forgot if it was appendicitis or something like that, but he was very down in weight. He was ill. He was, I think, going into a depression. And to kind of turn that around in such a short amount of time and go do what he did it puts him in the GOAT conversation. It's otherworldly. Like, you could only argue John Brzenk is above him all time, I would say, after doing something like he did. I mean, he won every match. He blew him away. I don't even think they did a sixth. It was 5-0. And the last one was left-handed. So, yeah, nobody thought he was going to do that.
Sorry, can I just say, can I go off for a couple of seconds? I just want to go get my charger because my battery's running a bit.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a crazy competition getting to watch that though. Like,
do you see it live?
What's that?
Did you see it live?
No, I just watched it afterwards, after the fact. But it was fun because I was like, because I've seen Michael Todd in a lot of other competitions and everything, and he's a beast, like, and then seeing like Devin Larratt made it look easy, and I was like, all right, this is not, this is something else.
He basically just came in his biggest and and that's what it took. Devin Larratt is so for people that don't watch arm wrestling a lot, there's a lot of technique that goes into it, and he's so technically proficient that if he can get big and strong too, it's over for the other guy. And so he came in almost 300 pounds, and I would say he's almost exactly your body. Like he's 6'5", I think, and he came in about 300 pounds. Yeah, so I although for him, I think it's mostly in the forearm. But
I know I've got decent arms here.
Yeah, no, I know. But arm wrestlers, like the bicep almost doesn't. He has good biceps, but the bicep almost doesn't matter. Like it's all the forearm. And I've seen interviews with him where he said, I don't have it, but he goes, I think it's this thing right here, and he has like a muscle I don't have, and he's like, I think this is the secret.
He's a beast. It's funny because like I just discovered him maybe a year and a half ago, something like that. And
me too. Yeah.
I was like, oh, this guy's pretty decent. And then watching more of his matches, and I was like, oh, he's really decent. He's actually like one of the best ever.
It was like they were telling a story on the table. It was unbelievable because that last one where he said, you want to go left-handed, and Michael Todd is known for not being as good left-handed, but they he's like, yeah, let's try it. And so he's pulling with everything he has, and Devin's in the middle of the table. He's going nowhere. And so Michael Todd said to him, like, go, if you can pin me, go ahead and pin me. And Devin said, I can. And usually he would be like a loudmouth braggart, but like they're friends, and you want to be respectful to the champion. So he said, I can do it. And then Michael said, I need to see it. So he's like, okay. And then, and he put him right down.
It was pretty crazy. Yeah, it was cool to watch.
Did you guys also see the Larry Wheels versus Schoolboy?
Schoolboy, yes.
So there's no shame in that. Schoolboy has so many years of experience.
Oh, yeah.
Larry's good, but he's recently learning, right? So what can you expect?
Right. Yeah. Well, and just because Larry has a 900 whatever pound deadlift and all that sort of stuff doesn't really translate to arm wrestling. They're two completely different sports. But it was really funny watching Schoolboy basically just play with Larry, like, so a little unfair, but entertaining.
with Larry Wheels, I mean, even though he had some advice from Michael Todd, who is honestly one of the best, that's sort of like me getting advice from Cedrunas Savescus, and then like a couple of weeks later, I go and, go up against Brian Shaw and expect to win, I mean, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So now that Schoolboy has won, do we call him matriculated man?
That could work, you should comment on his Instagram and let him know.
I'm always looking for ideas. Thank you, buddy.
I know. Jeff Dabe or Dab, I think it's Dabe. The dude with the massive hands. I've been messaging him a little bit, and he might actually come on my channel and do an interview. And I was like, I would love to talk to him because he's a hoot, but we'll have to see when that works out. And then another one is the Lawless brothers, Vitautas, and who's the other one?
Oh, you reached out to Vitautas Lawless? That would be an awesome interview.
Yeah, haven't heard back, but maybe. I was like, that would be a super exciting one as well.
So you just said his name. I said his name. You say it one more time, and he will appear like Beetlejuice.
3 times in a circle while balancing cups on her head. But
I don't know. I never tried that technique before. You think it'll Jerry Pritchett? I haven't been able to get a response from him either, but I'm sure we'll make it work one of these days.
Of course. I think your channel is growing, always growing, and I think you've definitely got some amazing content. I mean, just with what I've seen on your page, it's you really. I must compliment you. It is really such an awesome channel. Especially I like to analyze Strongman so much, and it's nice to see that other people also, enjoy doing that.
I appreciate that. You're very kind. It's like I said, the community is so welcoming, and Isaac remembers this. Like the first time I ever fanboyed out, it was when Donna Moore agreed to do an interview with me. I can't freaking believe this. Like this is great, and she's the nicest, most down to earth person when you talk to her too. It was a little sad because we talked and she said, I've been interviewed before and no one's ever actually listened to my answers, like and followed up, like they care what I'm saying. You're the first one, so it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like that's fairly common with the rest of the world trying to interview strongmen, though, because a lot of people don't know anything about the sport. They just watch World's Strongest Man when it's on TV and it looks weird and crazy and heavy and dangerous. So I think it's different when you actually have a fan of the sport who's willing to talk to the strongman athletes, because they can relate a little bit more.
I think strongman also it doesn't get nearly as much attention as it deserves, especially in South Africa, because I remember recently I had to switch. Me and my dad were switching cars, so we sold the old one, which was a Toyota Prado. So I mean, it's pretty large inside, and so we were looking for something a lot smaller and lighter on fuel. So we went and we looked at all the cars, and before we phoned in, and we said, we're looking for something massive inside, to fit two guys that are like, I mean, my dad's 6'1" and I'm 5'10", and my dad's 140 kilos and I'm 100 kilos. So it's pretty big guys, and they're like, yeah, come, we got the perfect car. And then you get in the car and it's like your knees are touching the dash, and then I remember the one guy where I was talking to him and I was like, I'm a strongman, so the sport that I'm in requires me to be pretty large. And he was like, he said to me, "Oh, you're a strongman." "Oh, I'm also a strongman." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And I started asking him about, the events and all of that, and he was like, "Oh, it's an actual sport. I just thought you're like saying you're strong." It's like, So
that you're just bragging or something.
I'm a strong guy, So I think a lot of people, don't even know it, and also a lot of people are scared to get into it, because I think, especially in the beginning, it's pretty intimidating because if you think about it, you go into the gym, right, and you're like, okay, I want to start strongman, and you see what are the competitive numbers, right? Well, the elephant bar deadlift starts at, I think, 800 pounds. You go into the gym and you see how much can you deadlift, and it's like, 300 pounds, maybe 250, whatever you can deadlift, and it's a pretty pretty hard thing to reach those numbers, especially I think diet is so important, and all of those factors is absolutely, it's such a difficult sport, and it doesn't get as much attention as it deserves, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at it that way and say, I'll never attain that particular goal, then you won't. You need to take steps along the way, right? Which is kind of the whole mantra of my block strongest man. Like what I was trying to show is you start off with an attainable goal, reach that goal, and then set a new goal. And eventually you take those building blocks to get to something big. But, Jessica Fithin is doing a circus dumbbell that is my body weight. It's intimidating, but little by little, I ask them for the techniques, and you get there.
Yeah,
Someday you can. Oh, go ahead.
I think what I'm trying to say is like the numbers are very intimidating, and for some people, maybe not all people, that could scare them off. Is that
right?
To get to an 800-pound deadlift, that's going to be a lot of time and a lot of effort, and some people just aren't willing to put in that time, effort, and especially money. I mean, I'm so grateful that I have the supportive family that I have, because to be honest, I wouldn't have been here without them. I mean, the food, everything. It's a really expensive sport, So I think definitely sometimes it can just be very intimidating. But like you say, with the stepping blocks and that, you know, you can reach those goals. You know, just give yourself some stepping stones and some milestones to head up to one big goal.
Yeah, speaking of food, I like asking this question when we speak to international guests. What are kind of like the best parts of the cuisine in the part of South Africa that you're in?
Well, there's a lot of nice stuff here, but I think definitely my top three favorites is going to be milk tart, which is like it's a very creamy and almost I think like jelly, right? But it's with milk and it's very creamy, and it's got like a bottom layer that's like crushed cookie. So
Okay.
that's definitely number one for me. It's so amazing. And then number two is going to be rusks, which is like it's basically like a biscuit. I don't know. In America, I think you guys refer to them as cookies. So it's like a cookie, but like your finger almost. It sort of looks like a finger, like just in a rectangular shape, and it's you get like different flavors like bran and buttermilk, but it's you dip it in your tea or your coffee, and that is really
Is
quite
that
nice.
is that similar to like in Europe they have Biscoff, the Biscoff cookies or biscuits or whatever you call, but they're a I think the only flavor I've seen them in is like a gingerbread kind of flavor, and you dip it in your coffee.
Yeah,
So is it a
I'm not
similar
too sure,
idea
to be
then?
honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's. I wish I actually this morning I had one of mine, and I finished it. So I wish I still had to show you, but it's. I mean, it's honestly that's one of my favorite, definitely, and third would be like, it's burrowurst. So it's like a sausage, or sort of, but it's very different from sausage. It is like in the shape, but the taste it's so flavorful, you know. So in South Africa we have a braai, which is sort of like your barbecues. Yeah, there you go. There's a rusk there.
I like
Okay.
I like to find things on Google in the spur of the moment.
I'll have
You
to
can,
try those out sometime then. Looks
yeah,
tasty.
they are definitely quite nice. If you put their Omar rusks, that's the exact brand that pretty much everyone in South Africa uses. So it's OUMA. There you go.
Nice.
So
Okay.
yeah, those are in Afrikaans, which is what we speak here in South Africa. Omar means grandmother. So it's I mean, I don't know what it really represents, but I think it's basically like your grandmother cooks you like the best food and all of that, you know. So I think that's sort of what it means.
Awesome.
That's
I have
awesome.
some,
You've had the best answer yet.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say I have some friends here. She's from Zimbabwe, so I'll have to ask her about it and see if she's familiar with any of those or where I could get some, I guess. But
Yeah, I think when my sister went to Australia, and it's super expensive there. It was like $25 for a box, and I mean
oh well,
that's like 300 rand in our
yeah.
currency, and over here they're like, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 rand, you know. So the price is pretty crazy overseas. So, but I mean, if you're willing to pay that, you know, it is definitely worth it, I would say.
I'll have to keep my eye out.
I asked Athor Melstead this question about cuisine, and his answer was very different. I think he said, I don't want to exaggerate, but I think he said like we eat a lot of weird stuff here in Iceland, like fish heads and like brains and stuff.
Oh wow.
Yep.
It's always crazy to see what everyone else is eating around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially so I'm actually Lebanese, which is
Okay.
sort of like Middle Eastern.
Mhm.
And our cuisine is like a starter, which is kibba, is like raw lamb basically, and you have that with biblos, which is like a bread almost like a wrap, but it's obviously Lebanese. And you know, there's many like main courses, like you have cabbage rolls and so many things. You know, there's it's really, I think it's so interesting to see everyone's different culture, and it's so diverse, the entire world. It's really crazy.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
Middle Eastern cuisine is pretty prevalent in this area. I'm in northern New Jersey, close to New York City, so it's pretty. There are a lot of restaurants with that type of food. I always go for the Lebanese, the yogurt with the dill. I love that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my uncle, he's actually going to America in the next couple of weeks, because we actually looking to immigrate there.
Oh,
So
wow.
Oh,
he was looking for some Lebanese restaurants, because he doesn't want to be too long without his Lebanese food.
Okay. Yeah, New Jersey is a good area. We have quite a melting pot of lots of different kinds of food. I think he'll find himself very
you don't
content.
go
And
East Coast. You want to go. You can go West Coast. All right. You don't want to go East Coast.
he doesn't want to keep flying forever, Isaac. He wants to land.
It's 3 hours. What's the difference?
Yeah, we actually looking to move to Tampa, Florida. So
Okay.
Oh wow.
yeah,
There you go.
it's
It's a little hot
so
there.
I think definitely in America, you know, there's just a lot more opportunity, I feel, you know, and with all the I think what you call it is the states within the country, you know, you can explore so much in the country. It's honestly crazy. So yeah, we looking to immigrate there, but it's all
Yeah,
just talk
it's
for now, you know.
interesting. My wife and I have been to many more countries than states within our own country. It's funny, like I've never been to where Isaac lives, for example, but I've been all over Europe. Never to Africa, but southern Italy, that's close.
That's
Yeah, definitely. I
kind
think
of.
with Africa,
Not to South Africa, but close to North Africa.
To North. There you go.
I think definitely with Africa and South Africa especially, I've only been to Cape Town, which is absolutely beautiful. I think that is
Yeah, I've heard.
definitely the closest I've seen to sort of what you see in the movies, what America looks like, you know, because it's in South Africa, everyone has like gates and walls around their property, and in Cape Town, there's no walls, there's no gates, and everything is so clean. It's honestly so crazy.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One of
here
my-
you'll see that like New York City, depending where you go, isn't necessarily clean. And then I haven't been to Chicago proper, but I've heard Chicago's like New York but clean.
I was in Chicago for a while. Parts of it are clean. Parts
Okay.
of it are definitely not. Compared to LA, though, it's much cleaner than LA. I will say that. So,
Yeah, I think
well,
sorry.
What's that?
I think it's definitely it's awesome in America because like everything's there, you know. It's sort of like you can go to the beach or you can go to desert, you know. It's so crazy. So I think that's definitely a very attractive point of America.
Speaking of desert, I heard that not that it's a desert, but I heard Sacramento is going to get up to 109 degrees one of these days while they're competing.
Wow.
I did hear that. Yeah. We'll see how some of the athletes handle that. Like, you know, the Texas boys and everything will probably do fine, but some of the other ones I'm a little bit worried about.
Look, I think that's why a lot of them went there a couple of days or weeks earlier, you know, just to acclimatize to that hot weather. But I think with Chris van der Linde, he'll definitely be okay with that. I know because South African weather in the summer can get up to like 35 degrees Celsius. So I don't know what that is Fahrenheit, but it's usually pretty hot in the summer.
It's in the 90s, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, 90s or 100. It's I can't do the calculation in my head.
But
I need a calculator.
In that weather, to train outside, or compete outside in the sun, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll do the calculation.
right at 100 degrees. Man, well,
yeah.
we've been going for about an hour and a half here. Probably go ahead and start wrapping it up. I think my wife is still watching the boys, but
so our conclusion is the winners of World's Strongest Man are going to be, or the podium, Chris van der Linde, Bobby Thompson, and Bill Kazmaier. Is that our
there you go. If Bill Kazmaier comes out of retirement and ends up podiuming here, yes, he is the GOAT. Okay, it's no argument.
I was picking among the guys we talked about the most.
I know. If Bill came out of retirement and made the finals, I would say he is definitely the GOAT. There's no debate.
Listen, I mean, so I know we want to wrap up, but if Bill came out of retirement right now, which event of those, of qualifiers or finals, would he do the best at? I know in my mind. You tell me.
Now?
Yeah.
I don't know what he's been training for the last 35 years.
Without even training. I just think he's
just been locked up in a shed, been training for 35 years.
Yeah, without training, I think he's a natural at this one particular event.
Wow.
I mean, maybe the pickaxe hold.
Yes, the pickaxe.
Yeah, okay. Because I was going to say that's probably the only one
that's the one. The pickaxe.
You could take a 35-year break from and still be competitive in.
That's the one. I got to say, though, that axe looks bigger than I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the handle on it?
Like, it's 30 kilos or 65 pounds, I think. And
I heard somebody asked Gabe Pena, because he was practicing with it, what it weighed. He said 60 to 70 pounds.
Yeah, I think that thing is, unless the wood in the handle is hollow or something, or the actual metal piece of the pickaxe is hollow, I think that's quite a bit heavier than 30 kilos.
Even 30 kilos, like 30 kilos is 66 pounds. I'm not going to Home Depot and buying a pickaxe that weighs 66 pounds. Like,
I don't know if anyone makes a pickaxe that weighs 66 pounds.
I think that was there was one joke that I saw on Twitter. It was like the pickaxe that they're using in World's Strongest Man is Brian Shaw's play toys from when he was a child.
Yeah, I mean, I would use that pickaxe if I was mining the Earth's mantle.
I don't know where they got it. So, yeah.
It's probably like custom made. I mean, most of their stuff
yeah.
Like Rogue and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's no Titans turntable laying around, so a lot of it was custom made.
See, yeah, I am super excited to see the Titans turntable and the train pole this year. Those are probably the two events that I'm the most excited for. Not super excited for the pickaxe hold. I'm sorry. It's kind of. I'm glad that they're doing it. Like I think front holds are a great part of Strongman, but they're kind of boring to watch just a little bit.
Not everybody agrees. Brian doesn't think it's a great part of Strongman.
Well, yeah.
I think if Eddie Hall was still in the sport, I think he'd probably come first in the pickaxe hold.
Yeah, so Laz said the same thing. Like he said when he competed, Eddie came first, Big Laz came in second. Who did he say? Mark Felix was third, and then Hicks was after that. Right,
yeah. Because Felix did surprisingly well. You wouldn't necessarily expect him to do well with it, but yeah, apparently he does pretty well with the front hold stuff.
Mark Felix, I feel like his biggest event would be yeah, something like that, or
no, you're good,
because of the size of his hands, just that the surface area that he can cover with his hands is honestly just, I think that's a big advantage,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but well, we should be wrapping this up here.
Yeah, before we go, Matthew, do you want to shout out anything? Maybe mention your coach and some of the other things that you've mentioned, or anything you'd like to promote?
Yeah, please. I'd like to say thank you very much to Kellen Mills and the whole team at Area 51. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to train with you guys and really getting me into the sport. It means so much to me, and I'd also like to say thank you to, my coach, John Arrington, and just also to my dad for everything that he's done for me. It's really, I wouldn't be anywhere without them. And, that's really just the foundation of everything that I am. So thank you very much to those people. You really helped me out in my life. Thank you very much.
A fantastic wrap up for today's show, for sure. Yes. And when you get to that first competition, definitely let us know and we'll help promote it for you and get the word out.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And thank you to you guys for the opportunity, really, to come on this interview and talk a bit with you guys. It's really a big thing for me. Thank you.
Yeah, it's our pleasure, and it's been a blast.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and if anyone's interested in following him on Instagram, he is at StrongMat2020. So definitely head over there and give him a follow and like and comment on all of his posts and all that sort of stuff. So
thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Matt. And Ty says a good interview podcast as always. It's always nice to see someone new in the sport.
And thanks again, Tyler, for jumping in. We appreciate it.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, everyone, take care. If you're in somewhere hot, make sure you're drinking water, getting the proper amount of salt, all that sort of stuff. And join us next week. We will have another exciting, interesting interview. So next week we'll be over on John's channel. So make sure that you head over there, subscribe, get ready to go. And give him some love on some of his videos. He's been making a lot of really great videos lately. So
thank you.
Once again, this is Isaac with Hunger Smash Fitness. And just remember to always improve that 1%.
Ciao, homie.